Several people have repeatedly asked I review the topping NX4 DSD, since last year in fact. I've put it off because I have plenty of portable amp DACs, but I also have plenty of headphones, so that really wasn't a legitimate excuse. Alright, so here it is. This is the unboxing and initial impressions of the topping NX4. It costs about $160, is pocket-sized, supports very high-resolution audio formats, has plenty of power, and, well, yeah, it's pretty good. Topping has been making portable amp DACs for years. They have released incremental updates to some of their products, adding the letter S at the end to signify a marginal change, much like what Apple and Samsung have been doing for a long time. The NX4 was released sometime in 2018, I think. It has a Sabre chip for DAC functionality, which natively supports up to DSD-512. It is not balanced, but has two 3.5mm outputs, one for headphones while the other is a line output. Audio Science Review measured the NX4, and if you are interested in detailed measurements, then you'll likely be happy to read ASR's analysis. For those who are not worried about measurements of molecular electrical changes, there's good information for you as well. The NX4 is silent as can be. Using the Campfire Audio Andromeda, which are 12.8 ohms, I heard no distortion or hiss on low and high gain. On the Sennheiser HD800S, I also did not hear noise, hiss, or distortion. Some products like this do have audible noise. You can find those products selling for a bit cheaper on Amazon by brands you've never heard about before. But rest assured, Topping is experienced and their implementation of components in the NX4 is well done. For my initial listening test, I used the Sennheiser HD800S. As far as I can tell, the NX4 is neutral. There is no emphasis in any particular frequency. Sabre DACs, in my experience, have been a little harsh, providing too much treble emphasis. Luckily, the implementation of the Sabre chip in the NX4 does not seem to suffer from the same issue. Using the Sennheiser HD800S, the treble was not harsh. It was clear and undistorted. The 800S is very good at adopting the sound character of the DAC it is connected to. A muddy, undetailed DAC will result in similar sound production through the 800S. A painfully grainy or treble accentuated DAC will also punch right through. I'm happy to say that the HD800S remained under my personal treble threshold. Clearly, this is a subjective determination. Some like more treble emphasis, while others like less. Speaking of more or less, the NX4 has a bass switch. It is either on or off. Assuming the off setting is a flat response, switching the bass switch to on results in a 3 to 4 decibel bass emphasis. Now, this emphasis is not immediately apparent in every single song. I tested the bass switch with Mountains, a song by Hans Zimmer. In the off position, the sub-bass rumble is hardly present. You can just barely hear it. Turn the switch on and the sub-bass turns up a few decibels. This is just enough to hear the sub-bass rumble without adding muddiness. Hip-hop songs like Pure Water are also affected. In this song, the bass switch off resulted in an unemphasized bass. The bass was not thumping. The bass was present, but the transience was pretty quick. When I turned the switch on, the bass was emphasized so that it became thumping, but still well controlled. And there's a clear difference here. The mids, however, throughout remained distinct. As far as I could tell, the bass switch does not alter treble response or the mids. It's possible that in scientific measurements you might see those frequency portions being altered, but in my experience I did not actually hear anything like that. The build is also superlative. Almost the entire unit is made of aluminum. The only plastic bits are the bass and gain switches. I toggled these switches over and over again and tried to find a weak spot, but frankly there isn't any. The switches themselves are very securely attached to the internals. They don't wobble or wiggle. Indeed, initially I thought these switches were metal, but after closer examination they appear to be plastic, and good plastic too. There are 3 LEDs on the NX4. One is on the front. This one indicates power. It's either blue or red. Red means dead. Blue means, well, that it has power and is turned on. But there's no middle ground, so you could theoretically go from a blue light to a red light indicating you must charge the device soon. That's the only warning you get. On the back there are 2 other LEDs. There's a light next to the charge USB port. This one indicates red and blue as well. It will be red while charging and it will turn blue when the charging is complete. The third LED is next to the data USB port, the one for the DAC. This too has red or blue indications. Red means DSD and blue means PCM. Those accustomed to hifi or FIO products will notice a difference here. Some of the products by hifi and FIO provide different color combinations to indicate different resolutions. but the NX4 is limited to just 2. In practice, this is useful only for people who want to know at a glance if they are listening to PCM, DST-128, or DST-512, for example. On the hifi and FIO products, you get this information by the color. With topping, you just know you're listening to either PCM or some format of DST. Again, this might bother some, and it may not bother anybody else. I also very much like the volume knob. It's gnarled. It turns from about 6 o'clock all the way back to 6 o'clock, and the dial moves very smoothly. But what about that power? Now here's where things get a little bit interesting. The NX3S, the unit the NX4 replaces, had impressive power output numbers. The 3S provided 545 milliwatts at 32 ohms and 100 milliwatts at 300 ohms. On the NX4, you get 293 milliwatts at 32 ohms and 114 milliwatts at 300 ohms. I don't know if the numbers for the NX3S and the NX4 are on high gain or low gain, but for the sake of argument, let's assume that it's on high gain. I do not have the NX3S and cannot compare the power between the two. However, I can say that the NX4 had no issues driving any of my IEMs or headphones up to 150 ohms. And the NX4 easily drove my 300 ohm Sennheiser HD800S. At low gain, I achieved comfortable volume on the 800S with the volume set around 1 o'clock. On high gain, I achieved the same volume with the knob around 11 o'clock. There was still plenty of room left. So I tried the Mothaus Argons. These headphones are notoriously hard to drive. On low gain, the Argons made audible noise around 9 o'clock on the volume dial at low gain. The headphones became too loud for me around 5 o'clock, almost maxing out the unit on low gain. Nonetheless, I could easily hear the bass emphasis that the Argons are known for. But high gain is where the Argons sounded best. On high gain, the NX4 drove the Argon's drivers to what I would say is near peak performance. I heard the typical Argon character around 1 o'clock on high gain. You'll get better performance from a dedicated desktop amplifier, but for a portable, this was pretty impressive. Obviously, Topping's rivals are the FIO Q1 and the now discontinued Oppo Ha2. The Ha2 is a fine product but lacks power. It has a slightly different sound signature, a bit smoother and a little bit less detailed. Neither is good nor bad, just different. As for the Q1, I have no idea. I don't have that product and I can't say. There are fairly thorough reviews online comparing the Q1 to the NX4. I read them and I think you should as well if you're interested. For example, Home Studio Basics has a very detailed written review. Look, overall, I really was not expecting the Topping NX4 to perform amazingly. And honestly, it doesn't really blow my mind. You can get the same or similar sound signature with other products. You can get the same type of build quality elsewhere. The NX4 is certainly not the cheapest portable amp DAC. But I must admit, its power output is pretty good. The ability to drive up to 300 ohm headphones with ease should be highlighted. And the fact that the NX4 can also drive the Argons is favorable. When you combine all of this together into one little package, well, what do you have? Is the NX4 the end-all be-all of portable units? Well, you decide that. But is it a good option for somebody looking for a portable, powerful, neutral amp DAC? Yeah, absolutely.